I was born in Poland in the final years of communism in the 80s. At that time, many things felt limited. People used ration cards that allowed them to buy a specific quantity of goods, for example, certain amount of meat per month. At home, we watched movies on VHS, either rented or pirated, while censorship affected almost everything, especially programs on the only 2 television channels. It was a time and environment where individuality and personal voice were often suppressed. We were limited in what we could buy, limited in what we could watch, and as well, people were limited in what they could actually say. Solidarność was a Polish trade union and a mass social movement that peacefully opposed the communist regime and pushed for workers' rights and democratic reforms. It was the beginning of a time of change, strengthened by the election of Polish Pope John Paul II, who was the first non-Italian pope in over 450 years. Lech Wałęsa, the leader of the opposition movement, became a symbol of the struggle for freedom and later served as Poland's president after the fall of communism. He also received the Nobel Peace Prize. This taught me early on that the voice, when reclaimed, has the power to reshape not only personal futures, but entire societies. Much later, as a scholarship recipient at the University of Memphis in Tennessee, I became a member of student PR organization, PRSSA. During one meeting in Philadelphia, I heard my colleague Brandy speak. Her ideas aligned with my opinions, something I had never had the courage to say before. I realized I don't have to stay silent just because others are talking louder. From that moment on, I decided to reclaim my voice. I started raising my hand, sharing my ideas, and I noticed that people were actually listening. It felt like discovering my own power. So in my 20s, in US, I experienced a culture where personal narrative was encouraged, celebrated, and rewarded. That contrast fundamentally shaped how I understand identity and opportunity. And now we are entering another age of power, this time shaped by artificial intelligence. And I believe that today, in AI-driven world, one of the key things that keeps people, businesses, communities irreplaceable is the ability to articulate their voice, articulate their human story, because identity, meaning, and lived experiences cannot be automated. Have you thought about it? Cannot be automated. Let me explain all this, starting with one personal story. But before, let me give you an idea. We need 3 things from my perspectives to see it through: meaningful communication, storytelling as a competence of the future, and authentic branding, underpinned with AI. Why did I mention the word authentic? Because these days, authenticity can be seen to function as a form of currency, influencing trust and loyalty. So the first part, communication. I teach social communication at one of the local universities in Wrocław in Poland. One morning, before classes, my 8-year-old daughter asked me what I would be teaching my students that day. Not wanting to go into too many details with an 8-year-old, I told her I would be lecturing about how to speak to each other properly. She thought about it for a moment and then replied, verbs, nouns, adjectives? For her, it was about grammar, which she just started learning at school. She's in the 2nd grade, and she doesn't have any problem with communication. She's simply at the stage of discovering the technical aspect of communication and the language. And look, adults, however, are often in the opposite situation. They usually know the basics of grammar very well, and yet communication between them still often fails. In my corporate world, at work, for nearly 20 years, I have been writing speeches, employee messages, social posts for C-level executives, and I've learned one thing. Even the most influential people in the world need help putting their story into words. I'm a ghostwriter, shaping the voices of leaders. If I, a human, can help someone tell their story, imagine how powerful an AI tool can be when we use it consciously. From this perspective, AI is not here to write for you. It can rather help you mirror your ideas, test their clarity, and check the structure of your story. So why storytelling is important then? Telling stories is one of the oldest human ways of teaching and sharing experiences. A powerful example of this is the Epic of Gilgamesh from ancient Mesopotamia, one of the earliest known surviving works of literature. It tells a story of a king on a quest to uncover the secret of immortality. With a well-told story, we eagerly wait to find out what happens next. Stories inspire, and when they are interesting, they engage us in active listening. Stories teach us, they convey knowledge, even when we listen about something very difficult. Storytelling activates emotions, which can make the content more memorable. Stories about matters important to both speaker and the listener may help build a bond between them. I'm convinced that technology doesn't take our voice away. Silence does, fear does. Because a voice isn't something you lose, it's something you stop using. I believe that technology can amplify what we do, but our personal narratives, values, and experiences are uniquely human and might serve as a foundation for personal branding. And this is exactly where building your brand begins. Brands without storytelling are kind of like dating app profiles without a photo. No picture, no context, no emotion, and then no swipe. Brand building begins with clarity about our identity and the challenges we aim to address. Not algorithms, not marketing strategies. And let me explain all this, to get a review, okay? So let's make this part interactive. Please tell me what comes to your mind when you hear Coca-Cola. Refresh, okay? Any? Sugar, drink. Happiness, okay, great. That's the word I was looking for, actually, right? Happiness. You might be even extra happy when you mix Coke with some percentages, right? Okay. Coke doesn't say, drink this carbonated sugar water, because that's what it is. Instead, they tell a story, and that story is about happiness. They connect the moments, emotions, memories that feel good. So they are not just offering you a drink, they are selling the feeling of joy associated with it. Another great example is Nike. What are they trying to tell you? What is their storyline? That there is an athlete in all of us. Even someone who hates running can still run a marathon. Just put these damn shoes and you're gonna be the winner. That's simple. Well, not really. Imagine if Nike didn't have "just do it" as their slogan, but instead use something generated with AI, with no prompt, without context. It might sound something like, perform physical activities in an efficient manner. Wow, the emotion's there. Well, the impact is gone. Technically correct, emotionally dead. That's why brands, like mentioned before, don't just sell the product. They also sell the meaning, and the meaning is always human. There's a quote that I really like. With great power comes great responsibility. It's an idea that goes way back, long before you and me. However, it was popularized by Spider-Man, later widely associated with Uncle Ben. But he was not the first one to say it. With great power comes great responsibility. And it's our responsibility what we leave behind. In the past, people left behind letters and photos in a shoebox. Now they leave terabytes and passwords. Metaphorically speaking, we are the first generation to die twice. Once biologically, when the heart stops, and once digitally, when somebody finally deletes our profiles. Now we leave behind search engines, voice messages, shared photos, thousands of them. When you are happy, sad, drunk, in love, you name it. Are servers our new cemeteries? Cemeteries full of relics of the dead that still keep collecting likes? Modern immortality isn't bronze monuments. It's a backup that no one has the heart to delete. And that's exactly why, today, I want to convince you to understand one thing. You have a voice. It is in your hands how you build your brand today. And whether what you leave behind in your personal life or through your companies, projects, campaigns, will truly have value. Value that you created, not something left to a prompt. It's about storytelling that makes what you create memorable. So it becomes more than just a data on the server. It becomes a story that inspires, engages, and stays in people's minds. In many cases, we might know less about our ancestors 3 or 4 generations back, although access to such information is often easier than before. Think about what you will leave behind. Do you really want what remains not to be yours, to be created only from prompts, algorithms, and ready-made templates, with the only thing truly yours being the fingers tapping on the keyboard? I believe artificial intelligence should not create our identity, but it can help us see it, especially when it asks questions we normally don't ask ourselves. AI won't replace history because history is born from experience, but it can help tell it. So this is not a call to reject this rapidly advancing technology. It is rather a call to use it without surrendering the most human parts of ourselves. In a world where soon many will have access to the same tools, the lasting difference might be the courage to say something only you can say. I had this courage, and thank you so much for listening to me today.